All right, everybody, welcome in. Thanks for checking out this quick video that we're going to do. If anybody doesn't know me, my name's War Daddy Chatsky. Everybody calls me Chatsky, and I've been playing this game for, 4 or 5 years now. And big kingdoms, met a lot of people, a lot of communities, and I always generally have some interesting takes and opinions. Some of the things I'll find out. You've seen me on other streams, you've seen me on Chisco stream. And generally, I get brought in to answer a lot of questions people have. Any kingdom I've ever been to, I've always done account assessments. I've always kind of gone through and done reviews for people and helped put them on a path and what kind of player they are. And anybody that knows me, you guys know this. I love the game. I have fun with it. I'm passionate about it. I have a lot of energy. Anybody that's been in a kingdom I fought with, they know how I am on voice. And everybody has a role. That's always been my testament to this game, is that you have to have the community. No matter what level of spending you're at, it doesn't matter. You can be viable for a kingdom and valuable for everything going on. And so a little bit of some of me and who I am and kind of how I came about. One of the things that I get into is I'll put things up on different servers and some assessments, or I'll put like a dissertation up of some of the different things that are happening in the game, and I get a lot of feedback from that. I get a lot of people asking me, hey, what do you think of this, or what do you think of that? And so with this being said, there was a recent post I had put out about archers in this game, and when it came to archers, using them in the field. And with the new archery releases that we have, it was a great time to say, hey, let me do a video real quick. We'll talk about this a little bit. And so from that standpoint, we'll get right into it. Okay. As you guys can see my account, I run archers. I've always run two archer commanders in the field. Got plenty of archer stuff. I gotta make this iconic, but I run 8 critted sets. I've got all kinds of stuff that I do with my account. Anybody who's seen me or knows my account knows what kind of player I am. I focus arch. I got a lot of cavalry. That's what I do. But more importantly, this came up with the new archer commander, and it got me thinking, because I just played a KVK against 1934 or 2934. I can't remember. It was a heavy fighting kingdom, and they're really, really good. They're high A seed, and they creep into Imperium when they do their pre-KVK training. And what we found out was that when I was playing these heavy KVKs, so if you're in an A seed or a high A seed kingdom, or you're in an Imperium kingdom and you fight big murder ball fights and you fight against good fighting kingdoms, like really good fighting kingdoms, you find out real fast that archers are almost unplayable. Absolutely almost unplayable. And it is such a tough situation to be in, because you have to look at the characteristics of archers. You have to look at kind of how they are made up, and there are a couple of key factors in this. Number one, archers are generally squishy. Okay. Number two, they're not very fast. There's not a lot of skills, and there's not a lot of gear, equipment attributes. There's not a lot of things that you can do to archers to make them faster. The one thing you can do is you can make sure when you're doing your iconic tiers, you can get the boots to level 5 as fast as possible. That gives you 13% march speed. You get 6.5 on the tier 4. You get another 6.5% on tier 5. That is absolutely a necessity. I don't have it on my second march, and it kills me, right? I got to put all iconics on all this stuff, but I don't have it on my second archer march, and it's almost unplayable against good fighting kingdoms. And let me explain. I wrote this assessment, and it's pretty. This gets a lot of feedback, and I'm going to make some points here just to kind of help understand, kind of give you a TLDR. I'll just read it for you. And archer players, like, listen, I'm not trying to be provocative here. I've never really been an archer simp, but for so long in this game, they've just done so much damage. Like, you have to bring them to the field. Well, that's changed, and let me explain why. When you get to a situation where you're fighting good Imperium kingdoms, or you're fighting good A-seed kingdoms, okay, archers are going to be targeted, all right? And from that standpoint, you got to look at the characteristics of archers. They're high damage, they are not very fast, and they're squishy as hell. They're very squishy. They're easy to focus down and kill. And so those characteristics make it tough. Now, here's the key. In the past, archers have always done so much more damage than infantry and cavalry. They just have for years. And you had to bring them. You had to bring them to the field. If you get 2 or 3 archer marches on the field, you were going to do insane damage. And they just did so much more damage than collectively infantry and cavalry used to do. The times have changed completely. That chasm it used to be, that discrepancy, that difference in how much you do in damage is like almost completely gone. And that was the benefit for archers. That's what made them so viable, is they did so much damage, but more damage than any other troop type. That's just not the case anymore. It's just not. And so from that standpoint, infantry has caught up. You don't believe me? Like, go look at Luce's skills. Okay? He's hitting 5 targets. Tons of damage. CPO Prime. Tons of damage. Okay? William Wallace comes out. Tons of damage. Gorgo, if you're going to run Gorgo in the field, she does a single target, but it is a ton of damage. Plus, she's going to buff normal attack boosts to whoever's behind her. Okay? Even Guan does enough damage with the silence. But now, Ragnar's come out. And I'll go through his kit in a minute. He just fits that mold. He's doing a ton of damage, like a ton. And so from that standpoint, archers they're not the meta in damage anymore. The infantry is just as good. Now, I know it's crazy to say that, but infantry has enough AoE and enough damage dealers to where they can go toe-to-toe with archers as far as pure damage goes, okay, easily. Cavalry, the beauty with cavalry is they're super fast. You can get out of trouble. Now, cavalry is more focused on single target damage, not a lot of AoE, but the cavalry does so much damage. You ever run a Huo Nevsky march? You melt the target so fast. So you do so much damage in cavalry that it literally helps close that gap of the damage dealt between each troop type. And so with that being said, here's the most important thing, okay? We've talked about some of the other factors. We talked about the characteristics of archers. We've talked about how the damage has ramped up from other troop types, but the most important thing is the mechanic of dot mode, okay? 75% of players in these high A-seed, and Imperium Kingdom murder balls, 75% of players fight just like this in dot mode. They go wherever they want to go. They target whatever they want to target. And the way the game mechanics are structured is that they're now giving you the icon for what troop type it is in dot mode. This has completely changed the game. In the past, when people fight dot mode, you're just hitting a dot. You don't know who it is. Okay, sometimes you get in trouble if you're going to go hit something super prickly. But now, archers are being focused. Every player who plays dot mode, if you got 3 targets sitting right there, one's infantry, one's cavalry, one's archers, everybody hits archers. Everybody. And so the mechanic of this has made archers almost unplayable. And I know this because I almost exclusively target archers. Like me, myself, I almost exclusively hammer the archers. And so with that being said, it literally makes these guys almost unplayable. You're going to get focused. You're going to get focused extremely quickly. And it's a mechanic that is just made for a recipe for disaster for archers. Archers are generally slow. They are squishy, and you can catch them, and it doesn't matter if they're trying to run, you're going to kill them before they can get away. And so from that standpoint, it is such a tough situation for archers. And that's what I was getting so frustrated last KVK, fighting a good Imperium Kingdom. Zuge Herman, who I run, still fits that old archer mantra or that old archer philosophy. It just does so much damage and has so much utility, especially with Herman's poison stacks, that you have to run it. That used to be the model for 2 or 3 archer marches. Like, if you have them and you have the gear, you gotta bring them because they do so much damage. Well, outside of Zuge Herman, who I think is still a must, you gotta bring that march. Outside of that, nothing excites me about archers. Like, nothing. Ash does a lot of damage. YSG with 3 relics does a lot of damage. But at the same time, it's nothing is super game changing, and you're not going to get any march speed from anything. And so it makes it so difficult. And so we talk about the new Archer Commander that came out. I said straight up, the next Archer Commander needs about 40% march speed. I mean, just as much march speed as you can get out of trouble, because they're going to get focused. And anybody who's run like Boudica, like, you guys got to understand the march speed. When you're trying to get to a fight and you got to pass through enemy cities, they're going to wait. If you're running 5 marches, they're going to wait till all your marches go by, and your Boudica is going to be last, and they're going to jump out and kill Boudica. Just murder it. Or your Henry's going to be last. They're going to jump out and kill Henry. And so it is so imperative that if you're going to run 2 and 3 Archer marches, you find out a way to make it fast. Because it doesn't matter your gear. It doesn't matter about anything. If they're slow, they're going to get killed. So whether you're getting to a fight, whether you're coming home from a fight, it does not matter. And a lot of people will look at their reports in the middle of the murder ball fight, and they're like, oh, my archers did pretty good. And then they bring their marches home, and a half health march Boudica just gets annihilated. 20-1 trade, annihilated on our way home. And it's like, oh, well, we'll hide that report. I'll show the report where Boudica did good in the mid fight. And it all accumulates. It's all one. And so with that being said, this commander here, what I love about her is that she's going to give you a lot of health. That's great. And she's going to give you 20% march speed, which is about as much as Nebu, right? It's not game changing for an archer march. Okay. March speed for archers is like defense for Genghis Khan, right? You can give him some, but it's not enough. You know, you can give him some health, but it's not enough. Same thing with archers. 20% it's just not enough. And on top of this, you're saying, okay, well, if you're not going to give me the march speed, at least give me the damage. Okay, well, she's going to give you massive damage, 2,800. That's big time. However, single target. Okay, so I'm not getting AoE, and I have a little bit of march speed, but I'm still dealing with the same effect. What else does she do? Well, she heals. Okay, and when she heals, this is what people have to understand, and this is what the game developers don't quite understand in the end game, or maybe they do, and they're just giving you different mechanics for the early game. These heals that she does, her mighty healing factor, even if she's primary, because she's really unique. If she's primary, she does damage. If she's secondary, she does mighty healing, huge factor. But either way, she's going to heal. And then you've got this one here where you're gonna do a big healing factor when you get to a certain amount of troops left. And so with that being said, healing, and this is what players know, and this is what big Imperiums know, this is what great field fighting players know, healing doesn't mean anything. The only thing healing means is that I'm going to focus your march, and the more you heal, the more you're feeding me kills. I'm just going to give you more Sevlins. And in turn, you're going to have to heal more troops in your hospital. That's all healing means. Okay, it's not really a big sustain here. Okay, because you're going back and forth and you're hammering marches in a murder ball fight one by one, and you're trying to get marches off the field. Well, if you get focused and targeted, that march is going down. It's just going down. And if it's her, then you're not doing anything. You're not being prickly. You can't get out of trouble. And it's almost like she is a good upgrade. And here's the category I'd put her in. When Belly Prime came out, he was a decent. He was an upgrade. I'm not necessarily going to say good or decent, but he was an upgrade from William if you're running 2 cav marches. Because Belly Prime does so much of that all damage stuff when you're focusing down on the target. And I value that. I think that's huge. William Wallace comes out. Well, now he gives you a pair for Luce. Well, Luce Alex and their synergies is really, really good. William Wallace with Luce is like meta. So that's a good upgrade if you're running 2 infantry marches. Okay? If you're running 2 archer marches, I think she's a good upgrade. If you're running Ash, you can run her with Ash. If you're running, Nebu or YSG, especially a 3 relic museum YSG, you can run her with YSG, and that's going to be high damage. But again, you're slow and you're squishy. And so you still have the same problems. But I do think she's an upgrade for a second archer march. And if you're running 3 archer marches, she's definitely an upgrade. And so from that standpoint, I looked at her and I was just like, how is she doing anything that the archers actually need? You either got to be Zuge Herman with massive damage, AoE damage, utility, and fast enough to get out of trouble, and make it to where you have to bring him. You can't leave him home. or make it prickly enough, you know, a super prickly archer march, which is kind of doesn't really make sense, you know, just in practical terms. But if you can't do that, just make them super fast. If you made her right now super fast, it would work. And when I talked about the discrepancy or the chasm of damage between archers in general and infantry in general, you might think I'm crazy, but guess what? Infantry, the game just announced. They announced this dude right here. And when they're going to put Ragnar Prime in the game, okay, they're going to get Shaggy Pants here and run the Prime. You start looking at his kit, and it fits with what I've been saying about infantry. Now, he's skill damage based, and I love the skill tree. I'm glad that they put that in there, okay? But if you look at it, he's doing 2,000 damage factor to 3 targets. And then he's also going to take the target and give 300 damage factor for 2 seconds. That's 600, right? So that's really, really good damage, okay? And it only gets better because his expertise is even better. Then he gives 40% defense. Awesome. Tanky. Make this guy tanky. And he gives a little bit of a march speed bonus, 10%. That's in addition to something later that's even better. Normal damage reduction, that's a counter to the smite commanders. He takes 10% less normal damage. That's 10% less smite damage. That's 10% less counterattack damage. So he just takes 10% normal damage reduction. You go into his third skill. He triggers his chance. Now this is the key part of this. If this commander is in the field troops, whenever it launches an attack or is hit with a basic attack, it has a 30% chance to drain. This is the first skill we've ever seen in this game that is a buff and a debuff at the same time. Okay, so the drain effect is that he's going to take 20% of attack from the enemy and 30% march speed of the enemy, and he's going to give it to himself. Okay, and you got to see there's no cooldown on this. Now they might change it or nerf it later, but there's no cooldown on this, and with a 30% chance while you're not only hitting but you're being hit, that is massive. So that 30% march speed uptime, I don't care about the attack, honestly. I like debuffing the attack, but I don't care about the attack too much. I want that 30% march speed on uptime as fast as possible. So when you're in battle, he is super fast. He's giving you 40% march speed. You go put him with CPO, you go put him with Alex, you go put him with Luce or William Wallace, and it's vroom vroom. They're taking off and they can get out of trouble. And so that is a super rare skill. We've never seen any kind of drain effect like that. The Odin's Hall is the fourth skill, 25% less skill damage. Awesome, all day long. I'll take 25% less skill damage, makes it even tankier. Every time this troop reaches 70%, it gains 15% bonus to skill damage dealt for 4 seconds. Okay, that's simple. Basically what it means is you're getting 15% bonus to skill damage for at least the primary commander's active skill. Great, I'll take that. Okay, then you go into his expertise, and this is where it gets crazy. You're going to up the damage factor for those 3 enemy troops. Now you got to remember, his AoE is a 180-degree fan shape. It's the size of Hondas or Ethels. It's big. So you're going to hit 3 targets, trust me. Now what happens is you get a little bump to that. So now we're doing 2,200 damage factor. And on top of that, this is the kicker. All troops hit by this skill take additional damage every second for 2 seconds. So not just the target, but all the troops who get hit. Okay, and that damage factor is 300. There is no mitigation there if you hit multiple targets. So 300 times 3 is 900. Times 2 seconds is 1,800. In his additional damage factor, he's doing 1,800 damage factor. Okay, you couple that with the fact that he's laying down 2,200 damage factor on the initial active skill, he does so much freaking damage. And so that is Archer-like numbers, okay? Archer-like numbers with some march speed and some tankiness, skill damage reduction 25%, 40% defense, another 10% march speed, 10% normal reduction. And this dude is legit. I'm just telling you. So it goes right into more of the argument that archers aren't meta anymore for damage. They used to be the damage meta in the field for years. The damage meta for archers was amazing. And then you had to run them, and you tried to run 2, and you tried to run 3 archer marches. But that's not the case. And the mechanics of the game of dot mode make it almost unviable. Like you can almost, outside of your Zuge Herman march, you almost don't want to bring a second or third march. It's going to get clapped. It's going to get absolutely annihilated. And so with that being said, it creates good discussion. People can argue with me on that, and that's fine. It's a debate, and that this is just what I see. This is what I experienced when I fought a good fighting Imperium Kingdom. And so when you understand that, those mechanics of the game, I always like to share my opinions. This kind of assessment got all kinds of play and all kinds of response and feedback from all these different servers. So I'm like, hey, I've got a YouTube channel. Subscribe if you like it. I'll put out videos every now and then, and just go through just raw opinion on some things. I'm not a content creator in the sense that I'm not going to go try to be first to break news or go do anything or try to assess things. I'm just here to kind of help give opinion. I've always given my opinion on streams I've been on. I've always given my opinion in the kingdoms I've been in and their servers, and I've always given my opinion in the servers that I'm in. And I think people like them or hate them, whatever. It's just, it gives a good aspect to the game. I've got the credentials. I've got the credibility. I've been playing it for a long time. I've got more kill points in beds than, holy jeez, I don't even want to think about it. But anyways, if you like the channel and you like this video, subscribe, hang out with me. I'll put up videos every now and then, and we'll get this thing rolling.